What's up, everybody? Yeah, we're not in Texas anymore. It's a lot colder, I can tell you, in Charlotte, North Carolina on this morning than it was the 10 days that I spent in Houston. And speaking of spent, I was spent. We spent the evening doing all kinds of other work. So the Weege Show will come to you now that I've landed at home instead of in Texas. We were deep in the heart of it for a week and a half. And this 3-race tilt in Monster Energy Supercross appears to have ended on a high note, because what a spectacular race that we had on Saturday night. I mean, look, when you have two superstars of the sport battling on the last lap and a pass, even though we've seen Cooper Webb do this to Ken Roczen before, it's nothing that you're going to sit there and yawn while watching, and that was great. But now it's time for me to be a little bit pessimistic, and it's time for you to show me that the glass is still half full as we get into it. Round 3 of Monster Energy Supercross on this Weege Show, brought to you by Racetech and their gold valves. They cannot make it warmer, but they can give your suspension better bottoming resistance. They can give your wheels more traction because the suspension works better, and your suspension will be plusher. So get gold valves. Go to racetech.com for more. They're made and engineered in the USA. Thanks to them for backing the show. And subscribe and like, or unsubscribe and dislike. I mean, whatever. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Now, here's where you have to cheer me up. Maybe it's because I've only slept like 3 hours. I basically work all night, then I have a 2.5-hour flight, and I'm home. This was an amazing race, an amazing battle. Ken Roczen, his heart got ripped out again late in the race by Cooper Webb. Cooper Webb late in the race haunts his dreams. This is probably a half a dozen times that Coop has made late race moves on Roczen. It even happened not for the win, so you might not have noticed, but he did get Roczen late at the previous race on Tuesday night. There was an assist here from Dean Wilson. Dean has gone on social media to apologize. I don't know how Dean didn't know the leaders weren't rolling up on him. He was not in a battle with anybody. He was just riding, and he blocked Roczen, said, for 3/4 of a lap, really for an entire lap. And at one point they even bumped. It was odd. It was crazy. Now, that does lead to some conspiracy theories that Dean is blocking because he's on a Husqvarna and there's a KTM rider. People, do you realize, if you have this theory, do you realize there are so many Huskies and KTMs out there, and how often riders are getting lapped, and this never happens? There are no team orders to block people while being lapped, especially not at round 3 of a championship. I mean, Dean clearly didn't even know what the heck was going on. Even if they told him to do this, I don't even know if he would have pulled it off. That's ridiculous. So let's just push that one aside. Dean messed up, and that messed up Ken, and I don't know if Cooper was going to be close enough. He was trying to pull off that last lap magic mojo, but it wasn't going to happen this time, I don't think. Ken had just enough ground, and it wasn't a track that was easy to pass on, which is odd because it did have some technical stuff. It was tricky. It had a lot of 180s, which are good for good corners for passing, yet somehow there wasn't much of it going on. And that's part of the reason the lap traffic was so bad in every race, 250 class especially, but also the 450s. Dude, it was hard to get around lappers. Webb himself got balked by Vince Friese. He had made a charge at just past the halfway mark, started reeling Roczen in, got held up. So he had his own problem with lappers. And then later, Zach Osborne actually went down with Friese as well. Friese has been involved in a lot of incidents this year, but so far video proof has shown they're really not his fault this time. But the problem is, for some reason, the way these ruts have turned out, it's just been hard to get around guys, and that really cost Roczen big time. So the Wilson thing is a factor. Here's what I'm worried about. We had this great race, and Webb won, but we've seen 8 riders collect the 9 podium positions in the 450 class this year. 8 out of 9. That's amazing parity. And we had a record close points chase coming in to round 3. They had never been this close going into a 3rd round of a championship. And in addition, we had not seen 6 riders take the 6 available podium spots through the first 2 rounds since 1992. This is all statistical proof that this is a wild, nutty, super parity-driven competitive championship like we all like. But I'm seeing a crack in the foundation of that narrative. Look, Justin Barcia is always dynamite at round 1. He won the first race. The last 2 races have been won by Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb, 2 of the big superstars of the sport, maybe the 2 biggest favorites going for the championship this year, and the riders that won the title the last 2 years. To see Roczen and Webb out front of everyone late in the race, that's not crazy, that's not chaotic, that's the guys who have been the best guys the last few years being way out front. So I am just hoping that we're not already seeing by the 3rd round things settling into a sense of normalcy and where we thought there were 12 guys that could win, or 15 or 8 or whatever we were saying, you're like, oh no, it's the same guys. Now this field is deep and packed, and the times are close, and these tracks have been tough to pass on, so maybe it's all start dependent. So what I need to have happen, to have that sense of optimism, we need another shakeup. We need someone else to start ahead of these guys and show that they really can beat them at the next couple of races. We're talking about Marvin Wegandt, who was very good at round 1, crashed at round 2, crashed again at round 3 and started last. We haven't seen much of him. Zach Osborne's season continues to be both amazing and frustrating at the same time. He is super fast. He's riding amazingly well. He got 9th this time. Crashes at the wrong time and bad starts have done him in. So we need Zach to rectify that and get up front. Adam Cianciarulo, he's given you pretty much what you want. 2 of the 3 races have been solid, steady, nothing horrible or spectacular, which is the one thing Adam was missing from his resume. That round 2 really hurt him in the points because he crashed in the sand, but you would like to see Adam get one of these wins to mix it up. The Star Yamaha guys, they certainly had the potential. Malcolm Stewart has been great, but you want him to be that much better. What if he got on the podium? That could mix it up. What if he got up there and won one of these? That would mix it up. And Dylan Ferrandis, so great at round 2. I was thinking, hey, wait, is there a chance Ferrandis just gets a win here in his 3rd 450 race? It was never in the cards. For whatever reason at round 3, it didn't come to him like it did at round 2. And then not only was it not spectacular with the practice times, but the starts were bad in the heat, and then it led to a bad gate pick in the main, and then he ended up crashing late. Aaron Plessinger showing signs. Much better Aaron Plessinger than he's been the last 2 years. But what we want is guys like that, those 3 Yamaha guys, Cianciarulo. It can't be Chase Sexton now because he's hurt. Wegandt, Osborne, somebody get in there and mix it up. And continue to make this the parity-driven deal that we saw at the first 2 rounds. So as awesome as it was to see Cooper Webb and Ken Roczen battling to the end, you don't get a lot of last lap battles for the win in Supercross races. So obviously that's great, but as great as it was, part of me is like, oh no, is it just going to be the same type of races we've seen through the years, and these guys who are usually the best separate themselves again? Or can the crazy pack separate themselves, or prevent that pack from separating themselves and get back in it? So we're counting on you, Ferrandis and Mookie and Aaron Plessinger, and you, Aaron, and you, Adam Cianciarulo, and you, Zach Osborne, and guys like that to get in there and mix it up and make this thing as wild and crazy as it is. Now there's one rider in the void. He's good. Justin Barcia was fast. He was easily, to me, as fast as Webb and Roczen up front. He was a little faster, actually, than 3rd place Cianciarulo. He got a bad start, but he was coming. He ended up crashing in the sand, and he pulled back away from Eli Tomac, who was kind of just, There was a little concern, even though Tomac won round 2, that he still didn't have the raw speed that we're used to seeing peak Eli Tomac have. The race came to him because other guys made mistakes, and he started up front. This time, the mistakes weren't made. He didn't start up front. He was 5th. That's not terrible, but a little concerning if you're an Eli Tomac fan. Or maybe that means the field's a little bit more equal, right? That's what we're going for. Barcia's got it, man. He had the speed. He was the only guy that could blitz the whoops effectively late in the race, which is always a good sign. Get him up front again, and I think he can win again, and that'll certainly keep things interesting. Everyone else, they're probably a little bit shaking their heads over how round number 3 went. Everybody gets some time off. They get to go back to their home bases. This is an odd reset that we've never had because they've never had 3 races in one city before. Maybe that'll rebuild things and we'll get a little more of that opening round spunk. Because I want it, man. We love the unpredictability, and I don't want to go back to the old days this quickly, right? So cheer me up. Tell me in the comments it ain't over yet, and we're about to hear from these half a dozen other riders that can get in there and win these races.